Okay. So in the yesterday's session, what we did, we completed the withholding tax configuration and we tested how withholding tax invoice is getting generated, right? And for recurring invoice also we discussed, we completed these setups and we generated recurring invoice, and we covered expense report invoice concept also. For that, these are the setups we completed. Based on these setups, we created expense report. From the expense report, we generated expense report invoice. When we try to generate, generally it will convert employer supplier but cannot generate the expense report invoice the same based on the setups. For that, what we did, for the employee, which employee is created as a supplier, for that employee level we enabled default payment method, and again we submitted the program called as expense report export program, and by selecting the source called as payables expense report, right? So finally system generated expense report, the same we gone through, right? Done. Today's session, so what are the other invoice types are left? Retainage release invoice. Okay, take this retainage release invoice. So what is the purpose of retainage release invoice? What is the business case we use retainage release invoice? Already we discussed. Basically, when we are into service contracts with our supplier, say we need some service, we have some contract or agreement or some terms with the supplier saying that, so we are ready to pay based on the whatever quotation is finalized and the price is finalized. But within that terms, we may have the terms which says we'll be holding some amount from the each and every invoice which we pay to the supplier, and based on the terms you may release that amount after some time. Take simple example, we are going to take some service for 6 months. Every month we agreed with the supplier to pay 1 lakh rupees, but finally what happened, we have other condition within that saying that yes, we are ready to pay every month 1 lakh, but we are not very sure about how the work you are going to deliver. We have to check, we have to do the auditing and all after completing 3 months or 4 months or completing the entire task which is assigned. Then if everything is fine, just will be found as a expected, then we'll be releasing that amount whatever we are going to hold. In that case we may say from every invoice we want to hold 25%, 1 lakh instead of 1 lakh you are liable 1 lakh, but you'll be paying only 75 from every invoice every month. Remaining the amount whatever you are holding for 6 months around 1.5 lakhs, right? That amount you may release after certain period, what are the terms you are going to have with the supplier, what are the amount you are going to hold from every invoice. That amount if you want to release, in that case we use retainage release invoice. To execute this, what setups we have to do in the system we'll see first. Okay, fine. What setups we require? So to handle this case, first say create document style. Okay, so document styles, and provide retainage accounting financial options. Basically these are the setups. And when I talk about process, to understand this process, what we'll do is we'll create purchase order. Okay, we'll create the purchase order. Required to create receipt, otherwise not required, but just to understand this process. Okay, you may just depending on your process, if receipt applicable will create and otherwise not required, but in the current case I am not going to create the receipt. The reason is for this testing and all receipt is not required. Okay, so I'll create the purchase order and say we created purchase orders. We'll take simple example here. Okay, we'll create the purchase order for, so the current employee has a approved limit of how much? 1 lakh. 1 lakh. So I'll take 1 lakh. 1 lakh. And against that purchase order, you can have one or multiple invoices, right? You may just for every month you may get one invoice. Okay, or else for total amount you may get invoice one time. That any scenario you can take. but here anyway we are going to test to understand the functionality. What I'll do is I'll create invoice also one time, or else you can create multiple invoice. Each invoice will be matching with the purchase order. By matching the invoice with the purchase order, will be creating, so that whatever the amount we want to hold, that amount system will calculate and it will be showing. But in this scenario, what we'll do is we'll do as a two transactions. Okay, say for example for 2 months we are going to take some service, or else two invoices. I'll say I'll create invoice with 50,000. This invoice will create by matching with PO. Match with PO. I'll take simple example here. When you are creating the purchase order, we'll say how much amount you want to retain from this. Say I'll give 10%. Okay, against this purchase order, if any service supplier is going to deliver, what we'll do? We'll hold 10%. Remaining amount only will be paying. The rest of amount, whatever we are holding, after audit or some quality check only, will be paying to the supplier. Take this example. So we'll create the invoice with the 50,000 and we'll match with the PO. Whenever you match in the PO level, we given 10%, right? That will be applicable on this invoice. Now what happens? How much amount system will reduce? 5,000 minus. Well, when you match this invoice with the PO, it will reduce 5,000. Then how much we can pay to the supplier from this? 45,000. That's it. We'll be paying 45,000. That means we are holding 5,000. Now we'll create one more invoice. Okay, 50,000 will match again here also same case, because this invoice also will create by matching with the PO. Then here also it will reduce. Done. Now how much we have to pay and how much we paid? We have to pay 1 lakh, but we paid only 90,000. 10,000 we are holding. The amount whatever we are holding, if you want to release at any point of time, maybe based on your terms and the conditions whatever you have with the supplier and other considerations. So if you want to make the payment, how much is held with us? 10,000. If you want to release this 10,000, you will create retainage release invoice. Create retainage release invoice. How much amount we hold it? 10%. If you want to release 10, you can release. Otherwise, you can release partial amount also. That is possible. Okay, anything you can do. Whatever you are holded, that amount will be releasing. If required, you can release partial amount also from holded amount. So, but in current case, we will test by just releasing 10,000. That's it. Here, when you create invoice, we'll look at the payment process also. If you select this invoice for payment, system will select only 45,000. But for this invoice also 45. And finally, we'll just create a retainage release invoice to release the holded amount. That's it. Okay, clear, right? We have to create the document styles, and we'll provide the retainage account in the financial options. And then we'll create the purchase order. We can ignore the receipt creation because we are going to test this case by matching with only PO. Fine, we'll try to understand what is the purpose of this. So create document style. What does it mean? So when you are going, document means it can be purchase order equation, right? But now we are the document style in the sense we are talking especially it's related to purchase order. So when you create the normal purchase order, you know very well whether you can provide the retainage percentage or not. You cannot provide retainage related information because we don't have such kind of field. Through document style, what you can do is you can give the permission. You can set some option saying that whatever the PO we are going to create, within that we want to enter sorry, we want to enter retainage amount. So that we can enable in the document type level, document style level, the system will allow us to provide the retainage related percentage or amount. So that is the reason we are going to set it up. And when you talk about retainage account, what we'll do is, so when you are doing this process, from every invoice, if you create invoice with the 50,000, what system will do? It will take 50,000. I given 5,000. Sorry, so 5. Yeah, correct. 50,000. So 50,000 normally it has to be, the system has to take expense and the same liability, right? Debit expense and credit liability. But in the scenario, system is going to take 5,000. It should take into retainage. That is the reason The for 5,000, to capture that 5,000 as retainage, we have to give the retainage account code combination, the financial option. So whenever you do this activity, 5,000, this is as per this current example, this 5,000 will go and hit that account, so that that amount will be maintained separately to process as a retainage release amount. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. When you talk about purchase order, when you see the normal purchase order, we created standard purchase order, right? So in the standard purchase order, we cannot provide any retainage related information. To create this kind of retainage related kind of, to keep some terms, something like retainage percentage or amounts, we have a separate PO that also will be creating against as a standard purchase order, but the process wise, that concept wise, we call as complex purchase order form. We have a separate form called as complex purchase order form. Through that form only we will be creating this PO. We know how to create the PO from the standard, right? We have seen, we auto generated. Anyway, we'll see how to create through manual process also, we'll be seeing that. So but the simple point, to create this kind of, to mention this kind of retainage related information, we cannot use the standard PO form. For that we have to use complex purchase order form. Okay. Yeah. Okay, you can directly enter, no permissions. Okay, and you are coming late, right? Just you can enter permissions. So done. So that's all about just these are the setups. These two setups will support, this will support, it will open some fields where you can enter the retainage percentage, and this account is required when you create the invoice to hit that retainage percentage, retainage related amount. And when you talk about this purchase order, it's not the normal purchase order which we create. This process wise, this purchase order we call as complex purchase order, which allows us to keep some additional information, example retainage related information. Then once we're done with that, as we discussed, we'll create the, say we just taken some service from the supplier for 50,000. So with this purchase invoice will create against the PO. The PO level will be given 10%. Accordingly, the invoice will get generated. 10% means 5,000 will be holded. Only 45,000 you can pay to the supplier. Again, next case also, next invoice also will take the same example. We'll create finally 45, 90 will be paying. 10,000 you are holding. What is the amount you are holding? Whenever you want to release to the supplier, use invoice type called as retainage release invoice. What is the business case? Generally this happens in case of services. Even for goods also it is applicable, but most of the scenarios you'll see when you deal with the supplier to render the services, will have some terms and conditions that may fall into this kind of scenario also. Okay, if you understand the concept, when you understand this concept, then when you are working, if you when you get the information, when you get requirement from the client, easily you will be able to map, easily will be, you can think, okay, for this kind of requirement we can use the feature called as retainage release. Okay, so that's how you will be able to just provide the solution based on this. So now first we have to do document style creation. Say create document style. So create document style. Okay, so create document style. Switch to purchasing. I think you are in AP, right? Switch to purchasing. Take the navigation. Setup. Purchasing. Okay. Setup. Purchasing. Document styles. Setup purchasing document styles. Setup purchasing document styles. So here we can create the document whatever we require. Okay. Why we are going to create, you will be understanding now. Okay. Just click on create. So our requirement is when you are creating the purchase order, say when you are creating the standard purchase order, within the standard purchase order we want to include retainage related information. Okay, for that reason this template we are going to create. Here I am going to give the name as call free document style means document, or else you can say call free standard and standard purchase order, anything you can write. I'll write as a call free standard PO. For the purpose is within that standard PO creation time we want to include the retainage related information. Okay, so here we have a standard purchase order. Even the field is not mandatory, you should treat as a mandatory. Display name is mandatory. I'm going to give the same name. Take simple points, you don't have to think too much on these points, nothing, just give the name and which type of purchase order we are going to create. Standard. So here already standard is enabled, but display name is mandatory. You have to provide field wise it's not mandatory, but process wise mandatory. Without giving that you cannot save it. Done. Now through this purchase order what you want to capture, for what purpose, for services, for services please. So here by default goods we have, you can disable goods. Through this purchase order I don't want to capture any goods related information, only for services. Sometimes you may have requirement, sometimes you want to capture the goods information, sometimes services, or sometimes both also. In that case you can enable service also. And temporary labor, if you are outsourced, if you are taking some resource from other outsourcing company, in that case also you say you need 10 resource, in that case you have to place the order to that outsourcing company, right? In that scenario you can use this temporary labor related option also, but current scenario I am not going to use this for goods and all, just for services. Enable services, or else you don't need to uncheck that goods. Apart from that, enable services. Okay, done. Enable services. So what you want to capture when you are creating this purchase order, yes, you can provide all the information. Apart from that, you want to capture retainage related information. So here we have retainage checkbox, enable it. Take all the points. Once you enable, it will be opening few more options. Okay, once you enable retainage, it is enabling progress payments, and here it is giving lump sum amount. That means you are going to set from this PO I want to hold this much amount. If you want to say this much amount, specific amount, you can enable it. Otherwise if you want to give the rate percentage, you can enable it. If you want to go with only percentage, you can disable lump sum amount, or else any option. The two should be available. Sometimes your requirement may be you want to give some fixed amount, how much you want to hold from the PO, or else it may be like you want to hold based on the percentage, anything. I'm just accepting this too. So make sure that you are enabling rate, nothing but percentage, retainage percentage. Then click on apply. Okay, then click on apply. I think in the last session we discussed, somebody said they'll be giving presentation, right? I think that guy is not here today. It happened, that discussion. Today also we'll plan for some presentation afternoon. Okay. But then just simply say apply. Then template will be created. Template we are creating, that document style means template we are creating by selecting the retainage related parameters. You can call them as a parameters or options, so that when you use this template or document style to create the actual purchase order, within this what are the permissions we given, those permissions will get applicable in the process, so that we will be able to capture retainage related percentage, how much you want to calculate and all. That's it. Say apply. Okay, say apply. Fine. Fine, done. Now what is the next step? Sorry? Just we have to provide retainage release account in the financial options. What is the purpose? When you create the invoice, When you create the invoice, system will be holding the amount as a retainage amount. That amount should be maintained against specific account. That account only retainage account. Okay, done. We are using the operations value set, right, per account. So that account is available. So just directly you can go and select it. So here, 1 second. Financial options. You can navigate from purchasing also, right? What is the navigation from purchasing? Setup,
Options.
setup, purchasing, not payables. From purchasing also we did the setup, right? Then there is no proper answer. Setup, organization, financial options or purchasing options. No, no, not required. What we are discussing, you tell me. Okay, setup, organizations, financial options. What I am asking, financial options only, right? Why you are telling purchasing options? From purchasing, how to set I am asking. Okay, we discussed the same point, right? Retained earnings account, the retainage account we have to give in the financial options. From purchasing, what is the navigation? This is navigation from payables, setup, options, financials options. I don't know, some there are few guys just they never open their mouth to answer something. That you will see good results because of that. Setup, organizations, financial options. Here you have to provide the retainage account. Okay, I'm requesting once again, just when I'm asking, please. Okay, I'm not asking, respect me, respect that concept or the subject, and please respond to that. Retainage. Select account. Which account? Retainage account. Just say okay. Provide retainage account. Okay, then that's all. Nothing else. Even it's a field is optional, but as per process, since we are implementing the retainage concept, we have to provide it as a mandatory. Okay, then save it. Completed. What is next step? Any other setups? No. Now we have to get into the process. Remember, only these are the two setups. Two setups means, what is the meaning of setup? Which we do one time. Which we do one time, which can be supported for the transactions which you record daily base or whenever you require. Okay, so that is a point. What next step? What we discussed? Create purchase order. Okay, we cannot handle this kind of scenario with a normal purchase order which we create. This has to be created as a complex purchase order. Say record complex purchase order. Create complex purchase order. Okay, create complex purchase order. Okay, take the navigation. We are in the purchasing. This is the navigation. Buyer work center. Navigation is buyer work center orders. Okay, buyer work center orders. Okay, we are going to create complex purchase order. It's like similar to standard purchase order only, but because of the template document style which we created, it will give the options to add some additional information, and altogether this will be opened in the web page. Standard purchase order in the form only, right? But this will be open in the web page where you can capture some additional information also. So 1 second it will open. If you know how to create the purchase order, you can create it. Anyway, we created through automatic process, right? Let's see how to create here. Then finally will be, anyway, in the process we have many concepts to touch purchase order creation. We'll see how to create the manual purchase orders. Now to create the complex purchase order, what we have to do is, here you have to select your document style. What is the document style name we given? Call free standard PO, right? Click on this drop down option. Follow and take each and every point. That's very important. You have to make a note. If you want to practice and if you want to get more comfortable, if you want to be more comfortable with the setup process and all, you have to do practice. For that you should take all the points. Okay, just click on, here we have a create, right? So click on drop down, then select more. Just search for your document style. Call free standard PO, then select it. Instead of clicking on radio option, select and to select directly, you can go with the quick select. With one click it will get selected, otherwise 2 clicks. Select, right? Instead of that, directly go with the quick select. We selected. Now what we are trying to do is, by using this, when we are creating the standard purchase order, the call free standard PO document style, within that standard PO option is already selected. For that we given display name, right? That we should remember. That means we are going to create standard purchase order only. We are going to create standard purchase order only. Then click on go. Okay, so this is header information. You know, PO header information, you know, right? Same header information. There you can select the supplier. Who is the supplier? Fusion. Just use some name and tab out, it will fetch, and it will default site and other required information also. Select it. Use supplier name, automatic system will take supplier site and other information. See, it is taking bill to location and ship to location, since we given in supplier level. Site, not supplier level, just we given supplier, just we given, where we simply just where we given through purchasing. There will be on hyperlink called as purchasing. We given for the purpose of auto PO creation. But here also everywhere that will be useful. Okay, done. That's all. Here you don't need to give anything. Just if you select supplier, its system will default everything. Buyer is Mr. Koti, and just bill to ship to, all the information is taking. Now go to lines. Select lines tab. Go to lines tab. Okay, here fixed price, or else you can remove and you can select as a service. It's a line type. In the invoice, normal invoice, you will see that when you are creating the manual POs. I'll show you once again. Fixed price, yes, here it's applicable. Here I'll write the description as a service. Category, select any one of the category, not an issue, because normally this, whatever the type or whatever you are selecting, that is belongs to which category. This is the concept of purchasing, but we don't need to focus on that much. Just there will be one category called as miscellaneous. You can select, since we are testing, there won't be an issue. Select as a miscellaneous, and there will be 2 fields within that, or else cancel directly. You can type here MISC dot, means 2 fields will be there, 2 segments those are. So this is the one. This category you can select as default, and here just provide the price. What is the price? Amount, total amount. Because it is a item and all, goods and all, it will be asking how much quantity and what is the price. But here we are giving direct type as fixed price. Fixed price for service, whatever you will be getting. So that is the reason you don't need to give that. Simply you can say 1 lakh. Price I given 1 lakh. Okay, clear, right? See, these all system is defaulting. Just I written the description as a service, or else you can say service contract, anything. Service contract. You may provide need by date and all if required. Okay, so then click on update icon. Click on update icon. Okay, click on update icon. Okay, the line related information is opening. Whatever we given the same, you can say fixed price service. Okay, service contract, what we written, category is this, price, this is what we given. Now other information, Retainage, right? In the document style level we enable that. Okay, Retainage, right? So that section you can see here. There we have two check boxes we enable. One is rate and other one is lump sum amount. The same. The minimum Retainage amount, that's nothing but lump sum amount, direct amount you can enter. Otherwise you can give the Retainage rate. I'll give 10%. Give 10%. Here you can provide PO charge account. Okay, here you can provide PO charge account. Okay, provide PO charge account. Select account. Switch account basically you are using 1410. You can select the same and just say create and select the code combination. Just provide a PO charge account, that's all, nothing else. Already you have seen that PO charge account when you are creating the same. Again, it's not going to be new learning for us. Okay, select. And when you are going to create invoice against this PO, which matching you want to use? Already we tested two-way matching, three-way matching, right? Now this will use for two-way matching, four-way matching we'll test later. But basically now primary thing is in the PO level we given, since the service our major focus, just we can go with the PO related. Okay, so here I can just select match approval level as two-way matching. In case of two-way matching, we'll create invoice against, please tell me, like purchase order, right? So select, when you have a like two-way matching, select as a PO. That's all. So in this page, what information you are giving? Retainage rate, PO charge account, and match option under matching option. Invoice, what type of matching under invoice match option. That's all. After providing this information, you can save it. Okay. Then say apply. Okay, create it. Now next tab is pay items. Same information will be defaulted. Anyway, let's go and see that. Just click on select pay items. So whatever the information we given in the line level, the same it's defaulting, right? Here line type it is showing as a lump sum, whatever we given in the template level enabled. Okay, the same, based on that only we given 1 lakh amount and everything we given done. And even if you click on this update also at pay item level, same information will get defaulted. Same, whatever we given from here you can see two-way matching and this, all the options you can see. These all are like days early, late, receiving related controls. See here, receiving controls, receiving option related information will be defaulting. And Retainage and all you don't see from the page. Retainage percentage and all you don't see here. Already that you can find only line level. So say apply or cancel anything. We are not doing any changes. Now the next tab is distribution. So distribution means just already we provided a charge account, right? Line level only we entered. Charge account the same is getting defaulted. Rest of everything is remain same. Okay. If it is going to be some goods and all where we have to deliver and all, we have to provide the delivery location. Current scenario you can think it is not applicable. This is a service, right? So it's not applicable. But if you want to provide the location, you can provide, nothing wrong. Okay, but just for information, if you are dealing with the goods and all, in that case definitely that will be mandatory, should provide. Okay, So this is how we have to create the purchase order with the process called as complex purchase order creation. Okay, means this is all additional information Retainage related. Now we completed for PO creation. Now we have to submit for approvals. Okay, we have to submit for approvals. To submit for approvals, click on submit. Okay, just click on submit. See the message, call free standard PO. PO number 2 has been submitted for approval. Okay. Now what we can do is we'll go and see the status of the approvals. So directly from here you can take the navigation to see that what is the approval, what is the status for our PO. So take the navigation, purchase orders, purchase order summary. With this navigation you can find the status of PO. Okay, with this navigation you can find the status of PO. Navigation is purchase orders, purchase order summary. So you want to find which PO. You want to know the status for which PO? PO number? PO number 2, right? Just now we gone through that, the message. Still if you say one, how? One already we created 2 days back, right? Just give the PO number, then click on find. Just scroll little right. See the status. Why it is approved? Within the limits. Who created? Koti created this PO, and Koti has approved limits up to 1 lakh. How? Directly you given for Koti 1 lakh? Then how? Any one group answer is not required. It's not valid also anywhere. Anyone? This is the 4th or 5th time I am asking this, and the 5th time also same answer from your side. How system is understanding?
We have assigned 1 lakh limit to Koti.
Where? Can you show me that? I'll open whatever you want me to open. I'll just open. Can you show me that? That's what I am asking. If you are not preparing, these are the answers we'll be giving. Please don't mind. That is a fact. You tell me at least, because you should have interest, because your name only we are using, right? Tell me. Because that's your name only, right? Please tell me at least. Your answer also same, huh? We given to Koti. How we given? Where we given? Please. Anyone? Now 1 lakh approval limit for Koti. How we given? I didn't select any Koti name and I didn't enter 1 lakh, right? But the logic we built. How we built? Nobody is preparing. No doubt on that.
We have entered the supplier group.
So tell me.
We have entered the supplier name. In that supplier site, we have entered the contact.
Irrelevant answer. What supplier site? I am talking about Koti employee. You are talking about supplier site.
In approval group, we created buyer 1 lakh.
We created a buyer 1 lakh. Yes, that's true. Statement is correct. Yeah. I need answer.
We have assigned that approval.
Piece. It will be framed as an answer. Huh? One person, one statement, other person, connectivity point. So when you go for interview, all will go and sit for an offer.
Assign approval group to job. Assign approval group to job.
Let him answer, please. Assign
approval group to job.
In approval group, what you have?
In approval group, 41 lakh we have given.
41 lakh we given
By year.
by year. Don't say all those things. We given approval limit. The approval group we given approval limit. Okay. Approval group you are assigning to
By year. Assigning to job.
Job. Then that is the actual point which is required now. No, please. Why? Please, that is important. Otherwise, if you know setups, anyone can learn the setups. The logic you have to understand. I am explaining and telling. This is the third time, fourth time I asking questions. Still, you are not ready. Up to that, correct. There is a connectivity. The next point only the connectivity will get established. That's how system will understand. Now for Koti I created. Koti 1 lakh approval limit we have. Agree. How that logic is works. How
We have taken purchase or order type.
I am not asking why it is accepting for purchase order. The accepting for Koti for purchase order I agree. How?
We assign job to assign limit to 1 lakh.
We assign
Purchase
job to
Employee.
we assign job to employees. The same point we discussed. Approval group level we given the limit. Okay, limit we assign to job we assign to employee. When employee is performing, system will see this employee has which job, it will verify for job level. What is the limit it will see. That's how we given 1 lakh limit for Koti. Nowhere no one can return like directly they will employ this. Through job we given. How through job level you given mention some amount? No. In the approval group you mention that approval group level limit you assign to job. So that is applicable for the job. That job you assign to anyone, the same limit is applicable. That's how we given for Koti 1 lakh. Okay. So that's how it got approved. Right there. Now from here you can open the same if you want to see. Same purchase order you can open from here. Click on open, the same PO will be open from here. Anyway, it's approved. That is required for us. Okay. Now directly we'll jump into invoice creation. If you want to create receipts and all, you can create it, not an issue. But for our testing, that is not required. Anyway, receipt creation already we have seen. Again, we'll be doing the receipt creations and all. In the current scenario, I'm just going with the direct invoice creation. Let's go and create the invoice as we discussed. We have some cases here, right? Which batch? Same batch. We started earlier. So done. So clear, right? So now we'll test by taking this case. Okay, create invoice with 50,000, and we'll match that with PO number 2. This also will match with the PO number 2. So in the PO level we have 10%, 50,000 means 10%, 5,000 it will get deducted as a retainage amount. We'll see that. So create purchase invoice matching with PO. Which PO? Complex PO. Generally you can call a standard PO, not an issue. Process wise, since we are providing some additional information which is related to contracting, okay, so we can call it as a complex. Complex means it's a more information, additional information which will support for this kind of business scenarios. So close, switch to payables. So see, immediate answers are very much valid. Remember, invoices, entry, invoices. Just provide PO number. PO number is 2. Then tab out. It will fetch the supplier information, right? Just capturing the supplier and supplier number. Site, if you want to change, you can change the site. Invoice date. If you want to enter specific date, invoice printed date or invoice received date, whatever, you can enter. Otherwise, just tab out. It will take the today's date automatically. Tab out. Invoice number. Just you make your Fusion 10 invoice number. Division 10 I am giving. An invoice amount
50,000.
50,000. Say just we have a contract, but now supplier has given the invoice only for 50,000. Okay. Now this invoice we have to match with PO. Do you want to use distribution set? Sorry? Yes or no? Yes, right? Or matching you are using means you are not on work talking about Oracle payables. So I don't know how many times we have to discuss. Very confident some people. We have to match. Yes. So we are going to match with. When you are matching, not required, right? When you match, it will copy from the relevant document, right? We did. Okay, we did, right? Invoice, normal invoice we created, right? Three-way matching we created, right? At that time, did you select a distribution set? No, right? Any matching, even correction also, debit memo, credit memo, correction, do you require? No. So payment term, which payment term? Which payment terms we have to choose? Any payment term. Yes, that depends. Okay, but not, it's not like immediate and all. Okay, there is no. Which payment method we have to use? Don't say blind answer, please. Which payment method we have to use? Check. Why? Answer should be how we are going to make the payment to supplier, that payment method. That is the point, right?
Yes.
Which payment method we have to use in the sense how we are going to make the payment to the supplier, that payment method. If you are going to make the payment through check, use check. Cash means cash. Electronic means electronic. Wire means wire. Whatever the method. That is the concept. Okay. Fine. Now what we have to do next? You know how to match, right? Now tell me. We have to go to lines. Who are going to lines? Don't mind please for my all nonsense questions. We have to go to lines, right? Lines means no, there is nothing. We have to directly go to match. Lines will be copied, right? That's the reason you should know. No, you should not go. Then click on, and already system is defaulting the PO number from. Don't show hand, please. From header level. Click on file. Then just enable match. Enable match. So read the message. The system will take the payment term from supplier side if anything is there. Make sure that whatever the payment terms you want to use that. That's it. So how much amount?
1 lakh.
Why it is taking 1 lakh? 1 lakh we have within the PO. That is, but we want to create invoice by matching only for
50,000.
so update to 50. See here, invoice amount is 50, but line amount it is coming from PO. So we want to match up to 50,000. Then click on match or save. Anything, two actions are equal. You can save, then it will be the matching will be conducted, or else click on match. The match action system will initiate. Okay. Any confusion or doubt, please click on match. See here the summary under general tab. See the summary. Actual amount is 50,000. Retainage is 5,000. Subtotal whatever we have to pay to supplier as of now is 45. The same it is shown. Okay. Now what we have to do? Validate it. General cases, what is accounting entry? When you create invoice?
Final.
I'm sorry, general case, what is accounting entry means final. Accounting entry asked how to create accounting and ask, please. Expense, debit, and liability. Which expense? It can be any expense. Whatever the account you enter, that accounts will be debited. Just as a simple term, we are using expense, debit, and liability credit. When you match and create again, that accounting will be different. Generally, that comes under accruals. It can be inventory accruals or expense accruals. That will be discussed in detail level when you see the process and accounting entries. Okay. Simple point is expense, debit, and liability credit. But now in the current scenario, we have a retenage also, right? Now we'll see the accounting. Okay. Just give me 1 second. There is another session going on. Fine. So now see the accounting entry. From where to find the accounting? Tools. Tools, huh? Go to reports. Tools from the for payment. Payment level we don't find reports. Okay. Reports. View accounting. So here system has to include retenage also. Retenage amount is we are going to hold. Okay. That's a liability for us, but we are going to hold it. See the accounting entry. How system is taking accounting entry? Expense account is debiting 50 and retenage amount is 5,000. Okay, and the liability is 50,000. Okay, this is how just it is taking. Okay, so basically here I think in this some modifications are done in the system. That's the reason. Otherwise, two liability accounts are not just equal. Only this is it supporting separately. See this expense account 50 and this liability account 50, and this retenage account liability is 5,000 under this retenage account is credit. You take in this way, it will better understand. Normal invoice, this is accounting entry. Since additional point we have a retenage. For retenage it is representing separately, but this amount will be subtracted from 50 only. That will be holded from this only, right? So that is the point we have to understand. Now for your simple understanding, I'll give you the point here. Normal invoice, this is accounting entry. If you have retenage, what we have to do? The retenage amount, whatever we have, that amount will get debited. Your liability and retenage account will be credited. That is the point. Once we make the payment for this, retenage account will be debited. It will be reversed and cash will be paid. If you are using the bank statement reconciliation, instead of cash clearing will come into the picture. At the time of accounting entries, we'll discuss that detail level. Okay. Just remember, in this case, there will be accounting for retenage also. This separate additional line. That's all. Okay, done. Now, if you want to make the payment for this invoice, how much you can pay? 45 only. Just let's test it. Go to actions, say painful, say okay, and provide payment date. System will default the amount. See here, 45 only, because 5,000 will be holded. Bank account is call free. Rest of information we know very well how to enter this. Call free, check, right? Last one. Then you have to tell me. Only you are others. Next, what we have to do? Just save it. That's all. The same I am asking. We have to save or something else. Just I want to hear from you. Just save it, because we selected invoice and we navigated to payment workbench. Again, you know to select an invoice by just taking the navigation to enter or adjust. Now you can perform the accounting for this invoice. Done. Okay. So this is how just you can see that if you refresh, you can see the status as a 45,000 is paid. Okay. Now we'll create one more invoice. Okay. We'll just create one more invoice. So again you have to match with PO. PO number 2. Invoice number is Fusion 11. Amount is 3000. Match action is want to match with the purchase order. Payment term, whatever the payment term you want to use. So let's use the same immediate which is defaulting instead of whatever we created. Not an issue. Now you have to go with the match. And click on find. The remaining amount will get defaulted once you enable it. 50 only. Yes. Then say match. Here also it will reduce 10%, right? Then validate and account and make the payment. Just you can go with the painful option if it's falling under due date.
Payment date.
Just provide on which date you are processing this payment. So bank, call free bank, and payment document you have to provide, right? The last record, right? Already we have seen this.
Yes.
Call free will be in the last record. Okay, and now save it. This will be recorded as a payment. We are paying only 45. The actual amount is 50, 45 because we hold it 5,000. Nothing but 10% from this. Now, okay, we done with the complete process. Now, say for example, we conducted some auditing in our company for the work which is delivered by client. So we verified and we found that everything went well as expected. Now there is no issue with the work. Now we are going to release that amount whatever we hold it from 2 invoices. For that, what invoice type we have to create? Retainage release. Let's see how to do that. So say create retainage release invoice. Create retainage release invoice. Same navigation. Okay. Create retainage release invoice. So invoices, entry, invoices. Select invoice type as retainage. Select invoice type as retainage release. Okay, supplier is for which supplier related holded amount you want to release. Fusion organization. Invoice number or retainage release 1. How much amount you want to? I'm sorry, I forgot. So you are going to release that amount against the invoices, right? We have 2 invoices. For 2 invoices, we have 5,000, 5,000. Okay. For 2 invoices, 5,000, 5,000 on what base we hold it? Based on the PO, right? So for that reason, here also you have to use your PO number. Select PO number 2. Then it will default. Now you can go ahead. Retainage release 1. Okay. System can understand against this PO how many invoices are created. From those many invoices, how many you created? 2. System can understand. From 2 invoices, how much amount is already holded. That system can understand now. Okay. Now, okay, you know like how much is holded? 10,000, right? How much you want to release now? It can be 10,000 or else it can be partial amount also. That's up to how the business terms are running. Okay. So let's release 10. Fine. So we're going to match with retainage release also you have to match with the PO. Otherwise, the system cannot understand against that PO how many invoices you created across all the invoices, how much amount is holded. It cannot understand. Otherwise, if you are not matching with the PO, whatever the amount you hold it may be 10,000. but your accountant may be very much interested to pay 20,000, right? No control, then company has to be closed. Okay, so that is the reason always you have to cross check. So match action should be purchase order. Now rest of information same, you may use immediate or anything, how that. So since if you are going to pay now only, just you can go with immediate. If you are going to pay after 1 week for the whatever the amount you are holded to release, you can go with the relevant payment term. Then click on match. Now system will display how much amount is holded against this PO by creating one or multiple invoices. That is the point. And one more point here, there will be one more additional field in this case. Go to extreme end, put value as 0, otherwise it won't respond. Okay, tax related amount, release amount net of tax. So at least the Oracle should have given some prompt pop-up saying that please enter that field and all, but it's not working. There is no that kind of prompt they given. But you remember that. See, without giving this, if you are clicking on match, it won't respond and it won't tell you something. Okay, you have to scroll and see that. Otherwise, it will keep clicking on match only. You may create one more invoice. Okay, but it won't work. You have to make sure that you given some value here. Put 0. Now click on match. It will respond. At least there should be some validation saying that so and so field is missing. Right? That is not there. Fine. Purchase order number 2. Line number is not required. If you have multiple lines, you may give the line, but we have only one line. One line, you may give that same, but not mandatory. Now click on fine. System already showing release amount remaining 10. If this 10,000 how it is taken against this PO, we created 2 invoices. From the 2 invoice, how much amount is retained? That amount already fetched. System fetching that amount to the specific PO. So now select here. Okay, don't worry about that message. Don't read it. Okay, enable that. So by default, system is taking 10,000. If you want to release only 2,000, update to 2,000. Sorry. And if you click on release, 2,000 only will be released. Later again, you can release 8,000 and all. But anyway, let's release 10,000. Okay, just release amount, you can select 10,000. Now click on release. Done. See here, lines are created. You go to lines, you can see that when you match it, the system will be creating the lines automatically by matching the respective document. If it's a PO from PO, see here, because 2 invoices we created, right? The same year it created as a 2 lines. Okay, PO is same, right? Against one PO we created 2 invoices. The same it is just displaying here. Okay, so this is a more detailed information. Whatever you want to see, you can see. Okay, that's all about Retainage release concept. Now we created. Now what we have to do? We created Retainage release invoice. Now we have to validate. Then if required, you can perform the accounting. Anyway, end of the day, accounting is mandatory, but for the payment purpose, it's not mandatory. Okay, if you don't create accounting for invoice, if you try to create accounting for payment, it won't accept. The sequence you have to follow. First, you should create accounting for invoice, then only system will accept accounting for payment. So validated. If you want to make the payment for this, yes, you can pay in full, or else directly you can go to payment workbench. You can select and you can make the payment. See, it's very simple. By default, system is selecting payment type as quick. And if you want to make the payment, you are writing this for 10,000, you are writing the manual check. In that case, select as manual. So you cannot print it. Other than that, there is no big difference. You have to understand the logic concept. You have to understand. If you select manual, also you have to select the bank account and all those things you have to select. Okay, anything you can take. Okay, you can make the manual payment, or else you may print the check from system. Anything will be fine. Because we didn't touch that point. That is the reason I'm just including that how to make the manual payment. Just only the point is you'll be selecting type as manual. Okay, rest of process remains same. Here bank account is
Call free corporate.
toll free bank account. Then save. Done. So payment is processed. Now we are testing how to give the manual payment. That means we are recording in the sense, I think already we processed the check. We written and we given physical check to the supplier without printing from system. That's all. Only that difference is the selection, that too based on the how you are handling the process. Okay, done. So this is all about Retainage release concept. Clear, right? Any doubts or confusion, tell me. But if you are not at all preparing, frankly speaking, you are not preparing. You are not at all answering to anything, many people, except one or two. Fine, done. Now we're done with this process. Clear, right? So in which scenario we'll be using? This is what we have to understand. We're done with all these. Okay. So we tested all this, right? And only payment request when you are working on AR only we can see this. Okay. So transportation invoice through manual process you cannot create. Some integration point of your third party or other Oracle product integration, you can create the transportation invoice to capture your transportation related expense or transport related information. That especially expense only. So now this we cannot do in the payables, just they given for that purpose. Done. So these are the different type of invoices we have. Almost we covered. This we can handle from receivable. This we cannot do anything. And when I talk about payment types, manual payments just now we tested. Almost all the payments we issued as a quick only, and refund and your APR netting. When you are working on receivables application, you can see that. Okay, when you are working receivables, you can see. And when you talk about refund, as refund will be covering in payables only. Now we have many other concepts which are part of payables, to understand along with these invoice types and payments. I'm going to list out all those. Just make a note. Okay, first I'll give you all the other concepts what we have in the payables. Then we'll talk about it theoretically. We'll try to understand which business scenario, which concept we'll be using. Then we can start working on the system, which setups required, what process involved. Everything we'll be discussing very detailed. Okay, take those are the invoice. See, invoice types and payment types are also concepts in AP. Other than that, some additional concepts. AP concepts, additional concepts. Take as MOAC. Multi-org access control, MOAC, we call as MOAC, multi-org access control. Say third-party payments, so zero payments, and supplier or employee refunds, and how to handle the petty cash, system or process, anything you can call. Foreign currency, invoice and payments, and supplier merge, APR netting we'll see from receivable side, and holds concept, holds and releases, pay groups, lookups, say quick quotes, invoice batch, payment, so say just concept actual feature is payment manager. From that you can process payment process request. Okay, invoice batch and payment process request. This simply you call as PPR. We'll talk about P2P account entries, and finally payables accounting entries, and AP base tables, AP interfaces, under tables means interface table. Under tables means interface tables. And key reports, major reports in AP tables. Okay, key reports in payables. Okay, these are the concepts. Okay, there could be some few more miscellaneous concepts that also I'll be covering when you are working. Okay, I'll be adding maybe 3-4 additional also will be getting into this list. Okay, these are the concepts which we should aware. Sorry. Okay, so MOAC, third party payments, and zero payments, supplier are employee refunds, how to handle petty cash system, how we can handle, and how to process the foreign currency invoice and payments, supplier merge, how to perform, how to manage with the holds, and pay group concept, lookups are quick codes, both are same. Lookups are quick codes, both are same. What exactly will be understanding, then you can take into more detail. And invoice batches, how to process invoices through batch, and payment manager. Basically, this is the term we'll be using. Payment process request. Even if you call it as a payment batch, also nothing wrong. Okay, payment batch, nothing wrong. Just here, P2P accounting entries we'll see, and the payables accounting entries for each and every transaction which you create. What will be the accounting? Everything we'll see. And what are the base tables we have in payables? What are the data will get stored when you record the invoice or payments or suppliers? And AP interface, what is the meaning of interface, we'll be discussing detail level. And what are the tables involved, or how these two tables are different, and many things we'll be discussing. Then key reports in payables and what is the purpose, we'll go through it. Okay, before we start with the concepts, there are few concepts left in with the purchasing integration. Okay, purchasing we discuss very few basic things, right? Basic points. From purchasing side, what we'll do, we'll be just working on these concepts. I'll just give you a list. Okay, from purchasing what we'll do, so just we have seen the process, how to create the requisition, how to convert the requisition to purchase order automatically based on the purchase order, how to create the receipt. Okay, with the help of this information, how to create the invoice by matching that to three-way matching, right? Just now we discussed about two-way matching also, right? So now we have to see four-way matching. So pending concepts. When you talk about payables and purchasing integration, four-way matching, we'll see like where we'll do the inspection and all that kind of activities also will do. And we have to see purchase returns, and the separate concept we have called as pay and receipt concept. The same you can call as self billing, or you can call as ERS. ERS stands for evaluated receipt settlement. ERS stands for evaluated receipt settlement. ERS, or else you can say auto invoice. In AP you can say, but basically auto invoice is a concept very normally we use for receivables, but here this concept you can compare with that. So auto invoice, this is all are same, just we use different names for that, all are same. You can pay on receipt or self billing. We'll discuss first, take the concept names, then I'll explain what is the business scenario, what is the advantage of that, everything we'll discuss. The same will be doing the required setups and we'll be testing the process. Okay, this pay on receipt, and we'll see how to create the manual purchase orders. And here when you are creating the manual purchase orders, then we'll test the functionality. Like earlier we did the setups. If some buyer is going to create some PO, if that is not within the limit of that buyer, it has to route it to supervisor. That also will be testing. Now we have a as an employee as a quote. What we'll do, we'll create the purchase order with more than 1 lakh. It has to be routed to his supervisor. How the supervisor will be approving, how that information will get updated, how the process can be done. The all points we'll see. Okay. So another point we have to understand receipt routings. Already we tested standard receipt routing only, right? Standard receipt routing. Remaining we have two: direct delivery and inspection required. When you say inspection required, definitely that we should touch in the four-way matching. Four-way matching. If there is no inspection, there is no meaning of four-way matching, right? That will be touching. And other point is only we have to see direct delivery, how that can be handled. Okay, so these are the concepts pending when you talk about PO and AP integrations, the process connectivity related processes. Okay, so this and all will be discussing. So four matching means we know, like we'll be creating the PO, will have a PO, will have a receipt, and will perform the inspection. Then when you create invoice, the invoice will be cross-checked with the PO information, supplier invoice information. Supplier information will consider as one document, and purchase order another document. From purchase order, ordered price and ordered quantity will take into consideration. When you talk about receipt, received quantity. When you talk about inspection, accepted quantity. Okay, when you talk about invoice, invoiced quantity and invoiced price. All these components we will take into consideration to create the invoice through four-way matching. That means invoice we are going to create based on PO, receipt and inspection related document. That's how we'll be creating. When you do the inspection, definitely that process should drive through four-way, not four-way, like what is the routing? Inspection required. When inspection required only, then inspection related activities can be processed. Done. That's how we'll be doing. And we talk about purchase returns. Okay. If you say like I just say I purchased some item, 10 quantity I purchased. After purchasing, I just return 2 quantity. Whenever you perform this activity in the purchasing, automatically system will create the debit memo in payables against the invoice whatever we created. Auto debit memo will be created. That process we'll see detail. We'll take some example and we'll be doing in the system. And the third one is four-way matching means we know already we discussed. Purchase returns means when you do the purchase returns, for how much amount or for how much quantity you are doing the purchase returns, based on that system will create debit memo and payables. That process only we call as purchase returns. When we are testing in the system, I'll give you the case. I'll take say like this is a receipt amount, receipt quantity. We are going to return this much quantity, and this is the invoice we have in the payables. And for return, how much in debit memo will be created for how much amount. I'll give the example and we'll write in the spreadsheet. The same will be doing in the system. And when I talk about pay on receipt, what happens is in this process, invoice will be created in the payables automatically whenever you record the receipt in purchase. Got the point? When you create the receipt in purchasing, that receipt creation will generate the invoice in payables. Okay, that process only we call as pay on receipt. Means we are going to make the payment to supplier based on the receipt information. Not only just receipt, we'll consider PO information also. But there are some points I will explain you when we are going to do in the system. Okay, I'll explain detail level, we'll do that. The same we can call as self-billing. Reason, normally this kind of concept when we can use, if you are not going to wait for supplier invoice, whatever the supplier is going to send the invoice. Say you receive today, you want to make the payment today, but you not receive the invoice from supplier. Even you receive or you may receive, may not receive today, but ultimately you'll be paying on what base?
On the receipt base.
On receipt base only. It's not like on supplier base always. Supplier invoice base. You receive 10 quantity. If you get supplier invoice from supplier 50, are you ready to pay? Ultimately, the information you have to always refer based on the what are your internal document which you prepared based on the transaction. So that is the reason. If there is some delay in the invoice from the supplier, you can take initiative from your side to create invoice automatically based on the transaction, and you can make it. That is the reason we are not going to wait for supplier invoice. We are going to create invoice ourselves. So that is the reason we are calling self billing. The bill, actually supplier will be billing us, but here we are not going to wait. We can create our own billing also based on the receipt and the PO information. Remember, okay, receipt and the PO information. That detail level I'll explain you when we are doing in the system. The same you can call as ERS. ERS is one of the source name, evaluated receipt settlement. Based on the receipt only the settlement will happen. It's nothing but invoice creation. ERS is one of the source name. To create the invoice automatically in the payables based on PO and receipt information, system will use the source called as ERS. Within the system we have source called as ERS, the logic related source. That source only will help us to create the invoice automatically in the payables based on the receipt information. That with that name also you can refer this concept which you call as ERS. E stands for evaluated, R stands for receipt settlement. Based on the receipt, you are by doing some evaluation, okay, by doing some verification evaluation based on receipt, you are going to do the settlement. It's nothing but invoice creation. Settlement means here invoice creation, which will support for payment settlement. Okay, that is a concept. Otherwise you can call as auto invoice in AP. Generally this term mostly we don't use. How you can create the invoice automatically in AP means this is the point you can refer. That's the reason I mentioned. It's just auto invoice term generally we don't use in AP. We have separate concept in AR which we generally call as auto invoice. When system will create automatic. Here also system is creating automatically, right? But Oracle kept to avoid the confusion of this term, same term usage in the two applications. Just they given the name as pay and receipt. Pay and receipt is nothing but auto invoice creation only based on the receipt and the PO information. That we'll see detail level. Before that, I'll explain you a few more points. I'll give you a few more points. We'll take example and we'll do it. Another point is manual purchase order. In the previous sessions we have seen how to create the purchase order automatically based on the approved requisition information. Okay, now in the next session, this session we'll see how to create the purchase order through manual process. Then we'll see how to, if in the case of receipt routing method is direct delivery, what is the simple practice, simple process we have to follow to receive the material and to place in the inventory. That points we'll be discussing more detail level. So this is all about it. Okay. So now what I'll do is I will explain all these concepts now. Okay, I'll explain you all these concepts, what is the purpose and all. After explaining these, I'll take you through this detail level. Then first we'll complete these concepts. Then we can move to AP related concepts. This is how we'll do it. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. Okay, enough, right? We all are here, right? So anyway, if you are something, people are coming late and all, we are recording this. Otherwise not required. So I'm going to stop the recording. We'll discuss now in the class.